right, let's look at the World Bank Springs meeting of central bank governors as well as finance ministers, which gets underway today. Now, ahead of this meeting, IMF Head Kristalina Georgieva said, and I quote, "The sobering reality is global economic activity is weak by historical standards, inflation is not fully defeated, and fiscal buffers have been depleted." So let's look at the importance of this particular meeting now and what it means for the global economy. We speak to SABC News economics editor Tshepo Mongoai, who joins us live now. Tshepo, before we even get into this particular story, let's talk about how the markets have been doing, especially post that attack by Iran on Israel.
Well, we've been monitoring the markets since early this morning, and they remain quite muted with the all-share index. Towards the close, it was just marginally weaker. And we've seen the gold counters really taking a hammering today. They were down some 8%, 4%, 3%. Retracing some of their gains that we've seen late Friday last week. And of course, the gold price that surged. We've seen a bit of reversal even with the gold counters, but not substantial. The oil price also mirroring what's happening in the commodity space, down. We thought perhaps with the Iran developments we could see some increase in the international oil price. But market analysts have maintained that the international oil price is likely to go upward. Given the global risks with the Middle East developments escalating. Yeah. So there are serious concerns, especially you've mentioned inflation, which will be a topical issue at the IMF. That is going to be something that is going to be concerning going forward.
Let's talk about this particular gathering. I mean, it comes at a time after you've just described all you've described, but at the same time, the global growth is also under pressure. How significant are these meetings?
Well, the meeting actually, it's a reflection of all global developments in the economy. It's a consolidation of what's happening, taking stock, but also looking at the risk and highlighting those specific risks and how different monetary bodies can actually respond and how they responded to those risks. Were they on time? Should they look out for other further risks that could actually come up, with inflation being the main one? And we've seen a concerted effort among central bank globally, increasing interest rates, trying to defeat the common enemy being inflation. And of course, how we responded, it was not coordinated. There were, and there are still countries that are really struggling, especially those economies that started with their monetary policy decisions or hiking those decisions very late. And we see that they are actually are really struggling, and the people are really, really struggling with the constant increase in prices at times that they just cannot manage or control.
And what does it mean then, especially in the context of, inflation, because things aren't really still stable on that front, because at some point it looked like things were getting better, but now there might be an uptick.
Yes, the overall expectation is that perhaps inflation could actually come down, and that will bode, it will bring good news for many poor and low-income countries. Remember, they are really struggling with high debt. We have our neighbor Zambia, which everyone is watching very closely because they have defaulted. They are currently under debt review. Which means that they're battling to pay their debt. In recent years, so what we've seen is that Zambia has been speaking to your IMF and the World Bank so that there can be some relief package, at least so that they can be able to pay what they can afford. Debt review are very, very difficult, and that's what we are going to see at the IMF Spring meeting, because most central bankers will go there pleading with these bodies to say, guys, help us, we are really struggling. Sure. We need some help, we need money and we cannot pay, otherwise we're going to default. So Zambia is in a similar position. They've tried to bring in all their creditors. Remember, we have a lot of private creditors that these countries owe. So it's hard to get them all together to work out a package in terms of how you can repay and not repay, how much you can repay. And that's what we've seen with Zambia. Private creditors did not buy into the package. The IMF and the World Bank, somehow they said we can set the parameters so that the bondholders and all the other guys can agree to this. Now they've only agreed to a portion. They owe about $18 billion.
Sure.
They've agreed to about 3.6 billion rand. And that's, you still have about 14.5 billion that you still need to pay. So they will be there, Zambia, and so as many other low-income countries, trying to find a way in terms of to get out of this. COVID did not help. The other issue is, I mean, in KZN, we're talking about natural disasters. Where's the money going to come from? So many African or low-income countries find themselves where they experiencing this natural disaster because of climate change. They find that their infrastructure is completely destroyed and they need money. They go to these lenders and the interest rates are high. Their debt to GDP just surge, it goes even higher. And they find themselves begging for help. And there is a talk that perhaps something needs to be done at the multilateral level with these bodies so that there is some kind of relief that is extended, because this climate change is here to stay.
And especially when you think about the fact that we still have the summits, the climate change summits, we still have the World Gathering as well, and we still are not seeing things move as far as paying some of the countries that would have had, you know, the serious impact. But also, you know, post this meeting, one wonders what becomes the right policy choices as well, Tshepo, that are also being made in order to make sure that some of the, you know, the future world economy, we see things getting better. But thank you so much for that, and we'll continue then to monitor that meeting through your eyes. That is SABC News Economics Editor Tshepo Mongoai.